The demand and supply for oil in the US and Kuwait are given by the following. Q equals 100 minus 20p. US supply, Q equals 20 plus 20p. Kuwaiti demand, Q equals 80 minus 20p. Kuwaiti supply, Q equals 40 plus 20p. The demand in the US equal to the supply in the US. 100 minus 20p equals 20 plus 20p. Bring the terms with p together, so I get 40p, and we bring the negative 20 over as positive 20. So I get 20 plus 20 equals 40p. Bring the 20, the intercept term here, over as a minus. 100 minus 20 equals 80, so 40p equals 80. The domestic market clearing price in the US is 2. When we do the same analysis for Kuwait, we get that the domestic market clearing price is 1. Once these countries become aware of each other, everyone would want to buy this product from the cheaper source, which is Kuwait. So that would make US consumers demand Kuwaiti oil. And as long as there is free trade allowed, then we should see the US importing oil from Kuwait. There are two ways to solve this problem. One is to solve global demand equals global supply, in which case you add the two demand curves together and add the two supply curves together. So we have 180 minus 40p equals 60 plus 40p. And when that is solved, we get a price of 150, which if you go back to the graphical analysis, you will see halfway between 1 and 2 that there's a 1.5 in both analyses. And on the Kuwaiti side, you would see that the supply exceeds the demand at a price of 150. So this is Kuwaiti exports here. And on the US side, we see the quantity demanded being greater than the quantity supplied. So this horizontal wedge between demand and supply is our imports, which we can also measure right here. In order to calculate the imports, which should be equal to the exports, we can set up the system as US imports equal Kuwaiti exports. So in order to get the US imports, the imports is really, again, if you look at the graph, the imports is really the excess demand. Once the price falls below 2, there's an excess demand, which is imports. And the Kuwaiti exports is really the excess supply. So another way of saying this is the excess demand for oil in the US is equal to the excess supply in Kuwait. And in order to get the excess demand, we subtract demand minus supply in the US. And then we come up with 100 minus 20 is 80, minus 20p minus 20p equals minus 40p. And that's the import demand equation. Similarly, we can come up with the export supply equation for Kuwait. And that would require supply minus demand. So we have 40 minus 80 is minus 40. And 20p minus 20p. So we would have 40p minus 40. That would be the export supply by Kuwait. The import demand by the US must be equal to the export supply by Kuwait. And when you solve those two systems, it's exactly the same mathematically as solving global demand equals global supply, in which case I would bring the US supply over with the US demand to get demand minus supply in the US, and bring the demand in Kuwait over with the Kuwaiti supply. So again, just rearrange these four terms to get excess demand in the US equal excess supply, and that will give us the equilibrium price of 150. And in order to get the excess demand at 150, you plug 150 into the excess demand in the US or the excess supply in Kuwait, and you would get the quantity that's imported. So at the price of 150, we get 1.5 times 40 is 60, 60 from 80 is 20, and the imports would be 20 at a price of 150, which would be exactly the exports by Kuwait.